I'm Andre, and this is the Speak Your Life podcast, where we talk about everything as it relates to education, careers, values, mentors, and anything to do with purpose. We do this one impactful conversation at a time, whether a solo dolo with yours truly or our amazing guests to share stories, industry insights, encouraging words, and calls to action that can help you get closer to your why. Become a part of the Speak Your Life community by subscribing today to the podcast and following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life without your why is meaningless. My friend texted me on Sunday, January 26th. I was coming from church and it was 2:43 p.m. I didn't believe it. Kobe Bryant just died. There was no way, but it was true. He then texted me again, my friend, at 4:12, telling me his daughter Gigi had died as well, along with the others in the crash. This really got to me. I was really down for like a whole week, and it just was one of those moments where it felt like the whole world paused just for a moment, just like Michael Jackson when he died or when Prince died. It was one of those moments. And at the time, when it just happened, I really wanted to say something on the podcast to honor his life, but I was way too emotional. And also I wanted to be very careful. I wanted to be nothing but respectful to him and his family. And I'm so glad I waited. I want to really put some thought and effort into the things that I'm about to share with you guys today. And while people wanted me to give my opinion on Gayle King's comments, I refused to focus on that, and I just wanted to focus on honoring this NBA legend, his daughter, and especially as this episode is being released on his memorial, him and his daughter's memorial today. So in this segment of #Modern Black History, we dedicate this 8th episode, calling it Mamba Mentality, to the legendary Kobe Bryant. Here on 224, 2 is for Gigi, that was her basketball number, and obviously 24 for Kobe. Today we're going to talk about 4 things. 1, who Kobe was. 2, what a Black Mamba is and how he became that. 3, how to conquer the moment like he did. And 4, final calls to action to implement Mamba mentality in your own life. But before we get to that, we're just going to take an 8-second pause to remember Kobe, Gigi, and all the other families involved in the fatal crash. Starting now. Kobe Bean Bryant was born in 1978. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, he grew up there and for some time, and before his dad took him to Italy, where his dad played in the Euro Leagues, the basketball team over there, and he learned a lot. And before coming back to the States, he picked up Italian and other languages as well. And so when he returned to high school, he attended Lower Merion High School, and in 1996, he was drafted straight out of high school by the Charlotte Hornets, only to be traded by Los Angeles, and played his whole 20-year career with the Los Angeles Lakers and retiring in 2016. Well, people wonder, he has 2 numbers, number 8 and number 24. I always wondered the same thing. And I looked it up and I found that the number 8 comes from his Adidas camp number when he was a kid, and he used to do summer camps and teams when he was younger, and when he was living in Italy, he wore number 8. And his Adidas camp number was 143, which adds up to 8. And the explanation for number 24 was when he was in high school, I found out the first half of his high school career, he wore number 24 before switching to number 33 at Lower Merion. But obviously, he couldn't wear number 33 when he came to be a Laker, since it was retired for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greatest of all times. And since being at the Lakers in his 20 years, he won 5 championships, 3 with the number 8, and 2, his final 2, he won with the number 24. He won 1 MVP and 18 All-Star appearances during his time in Los Angeles. He met the beautiful Vanessa, and they ended up getting married in 2001. They became parents to 4 beautiful daughters, Natalia, Gianna, Bianca, and Capri. Many do not know this, but to my surprise, I knew that Kobe knew he knew Italian, he knew English, but I didn't know he knew Spanish as well and Mandarin. This man was a man of many talents beyond basketball. And so now the question is, what is the Black Mamba and what is it capable of? Well, it's a large venomous snake that usually resides in the sub-Sahara deserts of Africa and grows up to 14 feet long. In fact, it's the second largest venomous snake after the king cobra. It's not exactly black like most people would think based off of the name, but it's an olive tone to the outer skin. But the name comes from when the blackness of its mouth is shown when it's threatened. And so that's where Black Mamba comes from. So inspired by the movie Kill Bill, Kobe Bryant wanted to separate Kobe on the court with Kobe off the court. See, many of you guys know about the court case he had when he was accused of rape in 2003, which was closed. And even though I'm not going to really get into all that, the details of that case, but I just want to talk about how that fact was relevant to what I'm talking about now, because that's where the Black Mamba was born. It was in that dark period of his life he found this alter ego. He wanted to find a way to separate what was going on off the court and how to separate that from his play on the court, because during that time nobody wanted to be associated with him. Labels and different people were not trying to associate with him during that time because it was such a dark period in his life. And so he was able to turn this bad thing into something that turned him into something better. And so the question is, how did Kobe embody the qualities of a Black Mamba? He embodied these qualities by being quick, calculated, and what he calls himself, in one of the interviews, just a straight stone cold killer. Because on the court, nobody could touch him. And honestly, when it came to the whole LeBron versus Kobe argument, I got to be honest, I was team LeBron and still am. But the thing is, I always respected Kobe's game. I always respected his talents. And so did everybody else. LeBron, Michael Jordan, all those guys, because game recognizes game. And after his days as a Laker, he still had much success with storytelling. That was a big thing that he loved. He was so passionate about that. And so I remember hearing about how he gained this love for storytelling when he encountered this teacher from Lower Merion High School. And this teacher really kind of inspired him to go for storytelling and just have an appreciation for it. But his desire and passion to tell stories led to starting a podcast called The Punies, authoring the book Legacy and the Queen, and also becoming the first pro athlete to win an Oscar for his short film, Dear Basketball. So now we ask ourselves, how can we be like Kobe, the Black Mamba? Well, it starts with the mentality and facing challenges head on. Because when it comes to anything, when it comes to hurdles or any challenges that we face in life, it all starts with the mind. Because if you don't have your mentality together, if you don't have that correct, you won't be able to face challenges correctly. You won't be able to conquer any hurdles. You will have fear, but you won't face it. The second thing is he talked about, I remember seeing this podcast interview with Jay Shetty on his podcast On Purpose, and he talked about how he stopped negotiating with himself and just did what he set out to do. So that's what we have to do. We have to stop negotiating with ourselves. When we know we have to do that workout at 5 a.m. or we know we have to turn in that report at 11 p.m. or we know we got to turn in that project. Stop putting off tomorrow what you could do today. The third thing is the way we attack our duties, the way we can be like, Kobe is by attacking our duties and growing in the process. See, he was all about embodying the principles of what it meant to be a Black Mamba. And like a Black Mamba, it goes and attacks its prey. And just like that, you can attack your duties. You can attack your projects. You can attack all these hurdles and challenges that will help you grow. Because Kobe was all about growth. He was all about learning. He was all about just being a student of the game, being a student of business, being a student, and just I always hear about how he would cold call people, random like business moguls, Oprah and many others, and just learning, just being a student, just understanding that he wasn't too big, he wasn't too famous, he wasn't too intelligent to learn more, to grow more. And also another thing I'll add on to that, just like a black mamba and just like Kobe, is shedding off old skins. You see, just like a black mamba, the snake, to grow, to become what it's meant to be, that snake has to shed off old skins, because otherwise those old skins will hold him back from growing. And just like you, there are people, there are bad habits, there are negative thoughts that could be your old skins. You need to shed those to be able to grow into what you're meant to be. Kobe always conquered the moment. And one of the things that a couple of things I would say we can learn from what he did and the example that he had was do all that we can do while we can. We don't know when our last day is coming. Just like I don't think he would have predicted that was January 26th was his last day. But all the interviews and all the documentaries I've seen from Kobe Bryant, it was pretty clear to me that he had no regrets. He left everything on the court. When it came to practice, he was always at least 2 hours, 4 hours ahead before everybody else. He would be the first one there and the last one in the gym. And again, like I said before, why put off tomorrow what you can do today? And it's like imagining, what if Kobe said, you know what, I'll train tomorrow. Or, you know what, let's win next year. Why not this year? Why not train today? Why put off tomorrow what you can do today? You know, it's almost like saying, let's win next year when you say, hey, you know what, let me just do this thing tomorrow. But you have this moment right now. You have a full 24 hours. And so everybody has 24 hours. What separates people who are successful and those who are not is what they do with that 24 hours. And so when it comes to being successful, when it comes to winning, we have to understand, we have to live in the moment. We have to take everything day by day, because sometimes we get so overwhelmed by, what's going to happen later. And so when it comes to that, I'll tell you a quick story. I remember checking out this one interview in particular, and he was talking about the mundane moments. And one of the things that he shared was how in one of the practices, he had to run up and down the court, up and down, up and down, up and down. And he knew, the championship was obviously the end destination, the end goal for any, NBA star. But even though he knew that was the end destination for the season, he knew that the end destination for that one practice round was for him to run back and forth and to finish his runs up and down, up and down. But instead of focusing on getting to the other side of the court, even though that seemed so small, he just said, focus on each footstep. That's what he did. That's how he was able to conquer the moment. That's how he was able to conquer practice. Because when he conquered the moment, he conquered that. He conquered practice. He conquered the games. And when he conquered the regular season games, he was able to conquer the playoff games. And when he conquered the playoff games, he was able to conquer the moments in the championships. And that's how he became a 5-time champion. And a lot of times we are so focused, we're so overwhelmed on, oh man, what's going to happen, in this big moment, this big stage, this big audience. We allow that to just cause fear inside of us when we need to focus on this moment right now, this second, this minute, this day. And when we focus on just putting one foot in front of the other, we're able to realize and look back, wow, I've come a long way. And so that's what he did when he just not only, again, he didn't just conquer these championships, he didn't just conquer these games, but he also conquered the moments in practice, behind the scenes, when nobody was looking, behind closed doors, when it was dark, when it was light, before the sun, after the sun, it doesn't matter. He always conquered the moments, and so can we. Some final calls to action that can help you embrace the Mamba mentality for yourselves, for your lives, for your purpose, and for your why. Start with prayer and meditation, because every winning moment, like we talked about before, begins with the mind, because that's where everything starts. There are people who, they don't have sight, but they have vision. But there are so many people who have sight, but don't have vision. And what do I mean by that? Well, the thing is, like, when it comes to having vision, that's being able to see what you cannot see right now with your physical eyes. A lot of times, you vision things by closing your eyes, imagining what you can do, what is possible, and maybe it hasn't even been conquered yet. Maybe to many, it could be considered impossible, but you realize that in your mind, it's possible. And because you started with your mind and how you can conquer what seemed to be to many as impossible as possible, it's already done. The work is already halfway done when you imagine that it can happen. So it all starts with the mind. So start with prayer and meditation. Number 2, start with the warm-up pose, what we call star positions. Amy Cuddy, she is a wonderful speaker, and she had this TED Talk about star poses, star positions. I'll definitely leave a link below for you to check that out. But basically, she talks about how body language is so important, and it coincides and it connects so deeply with our minds. So we talked about the mind already, but the body language is so important, because sometimes in games, when they were behind 10 points or 20 points in a game, Kobe could sniff out the weak ones. And the reason why is because he looked at their body language. He analyzed who was the weak ones, how he can attack the ones who are weak by looking and analyzing their body language. When you have strong body language, when you have big body language, you're able to conquer the big moments. You cannot conquer big moments when you have timid, small body language. Start with the mind, then start with the star positions when it comes to your body. Number 3, pull out your playbook. Or in this case, many of you have agendas, and figure out your plan. And not only that, you must not only plan to work, but you must work your plan, because there's so many people out there that say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but they don't do anything. Or they say, oh, I'll do this tomorrow, or, maybe next year. But what if next year doesn't come? What if tomorrow doesn't come? All you have is today. So it's great to have a plan, but you also must work your plan, because that is how you're able to be separated from the people who are just idealists or talkers to people who actually execute. And that's what separated Kobe Bryant. And that's how he became a legend. That's how he became an all-star. Because not only did he have the mindset, not only did he have the body language, but he also had plans to work, but he worked his plans. And the final thing is to watch film, or AK in this case, if you're not an athlete, review what you did and see what you did good and see what you can improve on. Because no matter who you are, no matter how smart, no matter how athletic, no matter how much of a good speaker you are, it doesn't matter. There's always ways to improve on. And like I said about Kobe, he was always a student. That's what he embraced, being a student. He embraced, even when he taught other people, even when he was a mentor to other people, he was always embracing the student mentality. Every single game that he watched, every single game that he played, whether win or lose, he always found a way to take time to watch film, because that was so important for him to just analyze every little moment, every little movement, the angles, and every jump, every shot, every mismatch, every defensive play, every single thing mattered, because that's how he became better. Because earlier in his career, he made shots that didn't make it, and he had opportunities to make the game-winning shot, but missed it many times. But it is only through watching film and analyzing himself that he was able to elevate to another level of play, in which he became a champion with Shaq 3 times in a row from 2000 to 2002. And not only that, he became a champion as well, back-to-back, later on in 2009 as well. So we talked about 4 things, guys: who Kobe was, what a Black Mamba is, and how he became that, how to conquer the moment like he did. And finally, we talked about various calls to action to implement Mamba mentality in your own life. And as I close, I just want to say that because when we talk about modern Black history, the reason why I wanted to name this hashtag modern Black history is because not only is this Black history, but for us millennials, we grew up with Kobe Bryant. We grew up with guys like him and LeBron James. And so these are guys in our era where we actually were alive during the time in which they made history. Not to say that Martin Luther King, not to say that Harriet Tubman, not to say Malcolm X, that they weren't important, because we acknowledge them every single year and they are so important. They've contributed in so many ways that are beyond our comprehension. But we must acknowledge modern Black history because Kobe Bryant was part of modern Black history. He was one of those guys that not only did stuff on the court that was amazing and stellar and just out of this world, but he also did things that were awesome and amazing off the court as well. I just remember just being able to sit there in 2018 while the Oscars were going on and just watch history happen. Like I said before, he became the first pro athlete to win an Oscar. That was so cool. And I didn't even realize I was watching history in my very own eyes right then and there. I just remember also, just as a kid in middle school, we used to always we used to always ball up pieces of paper and make the fadeaway shots and just say Kobe. And it would be one of those moments where, like, even though we were just playing as kids, it just made you realize how much of an impact he made on the game. We didn't even say Michael Jordan. We didn't even say LeBron James. We said Kobe's name because Kobe had such an imprint. He made such a mark on the game in a way that no other guy has made. And as we remember him, we remember his life, we remember what he did, his legacy. We just always remember that we can implement Mamba mentality as well. Like what he did, he turned his turmoils, he turned his darkness into light. He could have just been bogged down by all the things the media was saying about him, all the endorsements he lost, but he didn't. He used it for good. And so should we when it comes to our darkest moments. As a side note, I want to also implore you guys, just as Kobe did, he, towards the end of his life and after he retired, he really, really was a big family man. And no matter who you are, no matter what your opinion of Kobe Bryant was, you got to respect his game, one, and two, you got to respect that he was a family man. You got to respect that he had so much love for his family. And the reason why I found out the reason why he was in a helicopter so many times was that he didn't want to deal with the LA traffic. If you live in California, you know what that's like. But anyways, understand that, you need to forgive, you need to love, cherish the people that are around you because you don't know when your day is coming. As we close, I want you to do something with me in a way to honor Kobe Bryant. Take a piece of paper right now, ball it up, and say, Kobe. You got to make the shot, but if you don't, shame on you. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get your content on, whether you're on Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, or if you're on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate and subscribe, and be sure to rate and review us. And if you connected with anything, whether it's today's message or any other message, and if you have any questions, if you have any comments, or you just want to hit us up, you can find us on social media or on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life, without your Y, is meaningless. We thank you so much for listening. We love you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.